I'd love to spend the rest of this podcast making some 2021 predictions. Because I think we all have to believe in our hearts that it can't possibly be as bad as 2020 was. And so, let's make some predictions about how bad various studios are going to fuck things up.
Yeah.
Or how right they're going to get it. See the wheels turning, Rhett.
Yeah, my first thing that I jumped to are sports games. You want a bold prediction? Sports games don't suck every year starting in 2021. Well, maybe starting in 2022, because 2021 is the year they take a year off. They fucking get their bearings, recalculate, hit the drawing board, and they come back strong in 2022. Not going to happen, but, it's a bold prediction.
Yeah.
And sidebar, before you go on, James, just want to say maybe this will be the year that 2K or whoever finally gets a wrestling game right, because it's been a very, very long time.
There's 0% chance of that.
Yeah,
Zero,
I was going to say,
zero. Less than
first
zero.
of all, according to the people on our team, wrestling games haven't been good for like 2 decades.
A long time.
Yeah. And second of all, your prediction was already fucked the moment you said take a year off, which is not
exactly.
a thing they can do.
What if maybe this is the year that we get sports games that become, the addition for the next 5 years, whatever. And then you get
it's not impossible.
You get right? It's like, give me that. Well, the games. Let's take the last generation, for example. Sports games did not look that much better in a 5-year span. From 2011 to 2016, like, games did not look any better. Not really. So with these new systems, I don't see why we can't have one Madden that looks fantastic and then gets a great roster update. Maybe gets a new couple modes every year that are actually fleshed out and. I know it's one can dream.
Listen, if they go to that platform model, they are immediately taking out just about every mode out of these games.
True.
So you're gonna get your NHL mode, and it's gonna have an exhibition mode, and it's gonna have a Stanley Cup final, and that's all you're gonna get this year. And then maybe next year they'll bring back Be a Pro, and then maybe the year after that they'd bring back franchise. And honestly, I'm okay with that, as long as it means they're making meaningful mechanical upgrades to these games, because just about all sports games play like dog shit. One exception, maybe FIFA.
Yeah, they certainly seem to capture what it is to run and like dribble a ball versus what it is to, be stick handling a puck or whatever. Like, it seems like, a game set on grass is a lot easier to mimic than a game set on ice or football, basketball, even for that matter. EA really never was able to get that down.
No. I like that prediction, though. It's a good one. I got one.
Okay, shoot.
And I was just looking through the release list of things that are planned to come out in 2021, and I noticed something I hadn't heard in a few years, that being Skull and Bones.
Oh,
which is that Ubisoft ship battling game that I'm not convinced they have any idea what it is. First, it was going to be like kind of a Assassin's Creed sort of offshoot, and then it was just going to be ship battles. But I'm going on record here and saying that it's going to get a major relaunch. They're going to go hard on Skull and Bones, and it is going to be yet another Ubisoft game.
fuck.
That's it. That's the prediction. It's just going to be an Ubisoft game full of icons and a massive world that Alex Thomas wants to explore.
Somebody once compared the Ubisoft game model to like all the different ingredients you can use to make things at Taco Bell. Because there's a very short list, and they keep trying to recombine them in different ways to make new menu items, but it's the same goddamn lettuce, cheese, tortilla, ground beef, tomato, all that shit. It never changes. They just tweak the math a little bit and try to present it as something else. And that is exactly what Ubisoft does with their fucking formula. They have a very small toolkit that they recombine constantly in the effort to like make a new thing.
Can't wait to eat the Ubisoft Crunch Wrap Supreme. It's gonna be so good.
God, Taco Bell is pretty good though. So it's a pretty apt comparison too, because maybe you end up kind of reaching for it at 1 a.m. when your judgment's a little impaired, and you're like, yeah, this is good. This is a good time. I'm enjoying this, but it shouldn't have that every day, man. Yeah.
You got a point there. You got a point.
Yeah, again, not mine. I cribbed it from somewhere else. I think it was a Penny Arcade comic, but yeah, it's a very good point.
What do you think, James? You got a prediction here for 2021?
Yes, I do. My prediction is that we will finally get a new version of the Switch, or what people are clamoring to be called the Switch Pro. And it is going to be very disappointing. It's going to be very disappointing to basically everybody who wants one to exist. Because anytime Nintendo does this, where they have a console, and they're like, well, we're going to put out a new version of that console, generally it's a pretty small improvement. Like the new 3DS was just like a little bigger with like a slightly better processor, so like things didn't like come with any slowdown. It had like a second analog stick, like just very little things that made it was small enough changes that you felt like you really had to deliberate on whether or not you were going to buy the upgrade. And it's the same with like with the DS, they added backlighting, which was honestly enough to justify a second purchase. But it's a small change, right? So I think we're going to get a Switch Pro.
Okay.
It's going to change like maybe 2 things. Like it'll have a slightly stronger processor and some functional upgrade to like the Joy-Cons that's like cool and convenient, but like doesn't blow the fucking doors off.
I have a prediction for it as well. They're gonna get rid of the black bezel. It's gonna be the whole display is gonna be from corner to corner surface area.
Okay, that's extremely plausible.
Yep.
There's a lot of real estate missing there.
That's true. I mean, also, what are the odds of them calling it the Nintendo New Switch?
Oh yeah, the Switch Plus maybe or something. Switch Up.
Yeah.
The Switcheroo.
Yeah.
I like that.
The Switchback. It'll be they'll give it a contested name that half the people will hate, and it'll change 2 things, and it will not be big. Because people are like, because if they make, for example, what some people have been clamoring for, if they make a 4K model, then what that means is that every game that comes out after the release of this model has to use the new version of the Switch. And then you cut your fucking install base in half, and it's just like, boy, oh boy, we're going to sell a lot of these games. Not anymore, you're not.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point.
Also, if you tried to design a handheld system that was going to pump out 4K graphics into
Even
the
just
palm of your hands,
docked, have fucking fun.
But like, regardless, that's going to be like holding a nuclear fuel rod in your hands. It's going to be hotter than the surface of the sun. Like, fuck. I could see maybe going from like a 720 screen on the Switch right now to a 1080.
Yeah.
Like
Okay,
they blow
sure.
that screen up to the edges and make it 1080.
Sure.
900.
That's it.
Yeah, they'll do another like half.
900. Drop it down. 540. Because they want to make sure that Crisis runs on this baby.
Absolutely. A lot of Switch diehards will tell you already that the Switch can compete with. I mean, They will say the PS5. They will say the Series X. I won't even acknowledge those comments, but they will say that the Switch is on par with the PS4. It is on par with the Xbox One. It's not. It's not. When
No.
Nintendo develops a game for it, like you said earlier in this episode, when Nintendo puts that ridiculous Nintendo polish on their games, they're fucking amazing. And when the Switch works really well, it's awesome. But those moments are few and far between with that system.
It's the typical Nintendo problem that they've had with every one of their consoles since, I don't know, the Super Nintendo. That their games are fucking fantastic and nothing else can hang.
Yeah. Most of the third-party stuff is generally garbage.
I hate to say it. I really wish that thing, was not. I'm not going to say it's bad, but I wish it wasn't as bad as often as it is.
That's a long time Nintendo problem. It's something I've made my peace with fucking generations ago. It's just like, no, you're gonna have this console for the first party titles and a handful of third party titles. Generally, that's about it. Sometimes you get a console that hits a sweet spot, like the Wii and the DS, were somehow really easy to develop for, and then so you had like crazy amounts of good third party shit on there. But like it's kind of a rare occurrence. Like the DS was like a special focal point of their history.
Ooh, how about that for a bold prediction? The Switch 2, it's clamshelled with a second screen. Fucking huge.
Okay.
Yeah, that's bold.
That'd be a great.
bold.
They were like, well, we didn't want to bump up the resolution too much, so we wanted to give you double the power, so we just made another fucking 3DS. Surprise!
Man, like, how pumped would people be on that? I think a lot of people share that same sentiment that you do, James, where the DS was a special time in their history.
Yeah.
Just a lot of good third-party stuff. Like, crazy amount of good RPGs.
Yeah. See, we were talking Fire Emblem the last episode. I would love to go back and play those Fire Emblem like remakes that were on yeah, that'd be fun.
No doubt. I got another prediction. This one's dark.
Okay.
It's not good.
Okay.
We don't want this, but it's gonna happen. Make no mistake. This one is 100% guaranteed.
All right.
Based on the success of the free and also pretty damn good Genshin Impact, which is fueled by the most ridiculously overblown gacha mechanics in years, we're going to see gacha gone wild. Everything's going to have gacha.
All right.
And that's going to be the way that they get around loot box laws.
By changing the
something
name?
else. Yep.
Oh, that's dark. Okay.
And it's going to be just different enough that it's going to work. It's going to push off the legal system from catching up with this bullshit for another couple of years.
Yeah.
Just enough time to get enough 12-year-olds to enter their parents' credit card information, make some purchases.
That's right.
And
Absolutely.
yeah. Nice. Okay. Now,
Genshin Impact's a pretty cool game, though.
I played a little bit. Yeah, it was
I do
pretty
like
smooth.
Genshin Impact. It's pretty fun.
But by these gotcha, like what do you mean by that?
Well, basically, what it ends up being is that you gather like limited amounts of in-game currency that you can purchase more of with real money, and you use this currency to basically gamble on your loot drops. Like they took the entire system of like farming for loot and then maybe having a 1% chance of being a certain thing. They just weaponized it basically, where you go to a menu and it's like, all right, press the button. What do you get? Is it good? No, it's not good. But next time it might be good. And sometimes it is. And then, people spend a lot of money to make sure that they have more chances or their odds are better. It's absolutely fucking evil, but brilliant.
Yeah,
Brilliantly evil.
Sure.
Yeah, real
Dark.
triumph of design.
Like Genshin kind of gets around all the loot box discussion because you don't pay for this game.
Yeah.
So it becomes more like a mobile game where you might buy gold coins or something like that, but wrapped up in a pretty compelling action RPG that you kind of want to get more characters and stuff for.
Yeah, it's pretty damn good for a freemium game.
Even if I love and hate Paimon's voice.
Wow. Yeah. So it's something, right?
It's got to be something. All right, who else has got one?
Okay. Let's see here. I said that one. Okay. I think we will get one trailer for the Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. Just one. It might be 45, it might be 30 seconds long, and it'll just be a logo, and we're like, hey guys, this game exists, and we'll be like, yeah, please give us more, we're so hungry for yeah. And it'll be one trailer, and that'll be all we get, and they'll be like, when are we getting a release date? You'll be like, when it's ready, because fucking guys. Anyway, yeah, that's, yeah, we'll get one tiny update about Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2.
It's just the 30-second trailer of the party walking from Midgar to the town of Calm. And that's it.
Yeah, you can see the
that's
distance.
As far as they got.
Yeah, they get slightly farther. They're like, oh, well, they haven't got there yet. But don't worry. We'll have the game at some point. In like 100
something
years.
Nibelheim.
Yeah. It'd be the
I'm going to go the
Nibelheim
opposite
phase.
direction on that one, though.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that we get a release date for that this year.
Ooh, nice.
I think spring 2022 is entirely possible.
They did say it was going to be a lot quicker to start churning them out, right?
If they know the direction they want to go. I assume that they have written a treatment for where the story goes now. Because it's kind of unwritten at this point, but
yeah, it could go basically anywhere. They've got the freedom. They built themselves a back door so they can escape the story at any point if certain events turn out to be too unpalatable or unpopular or continuously emotionally traumatizing, I guess, if that's something that affects
they are
you.
going to milk the emotional trauma for all it is worth, James.
Oh yeah, so no, they'll go the other way where they're like, the thing you guys are expecting, we're gonna crank it up to 11. Get ready to cry.
I hope so, because I'm somebody that doesn't know the story, and just recently I was scrolling through, I think it was a YouTube comment section, and I swear I was just scrolling, and then really quick I saw one little spoiler, like out of nowhere. It wasn't related to the video that I was watching, but there was a spoiler related to Aerith that I didn't want to see. And so
Rhett,
hearing that, I'm like, I hope that a lot of this stuff that people think is coming is not gonna be coming,
Rhett, it's legitimately totally wild to me that you had never heard that before. Like,
never
say that information, like the key events of Final Fantasy VII as the storyline for like 10 years was so deeply embedded in the collective gamer consciousness that to this day, if I see somebody who like doesn't know how Final Fantasy VII goes, I feel like they were in some sort of a bunker for several years. Like, I can't think of a second reason why somebody wouldn't know that. But then here you are, a person who organically did not know that until unbelievably recently. That's amazing to me.
Also, given the fact that some of my best friends growing up were big Final Fantasy fans, but I just never.
Wow.
I don't know. I never got one of them for Christmas. I never got one for a birthday. Nothing. Yeah, it was always something though. FF7, anytime anybody would talk about the best games ever, FF7 would come up, and I would always be like, man, I would really like to check that out. So now it's pretty cool that the first way I get to experience it is this way, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting perspective to have too.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually shocked that the remake was so successful with people who had not played Final Fantasy VII, and they enjoyed it basically the same amount as people who had this ridiculous, unassailable nostalgia.
Nostalgia aside, man, it is just a very well made game. Well directed, well composed. It's
Yeah.
it's so smooth. It's you know, yeah, it's a good game. Hopefully the second one improves on it. And I guess now that we're talking about Final Fantasy, if you want another prediction for 2021, maybe we get I want to say a release date. Bold predictions. I'm going to say a release date for that Final Fantasy 16, is it? Is that where we're at? 17?
Yeah, 16 is what's coming
16,
out.
yeah. Give me a release date for that. Not as soon as March 2022. That's what you said, right, Paul, for
Spring.
7 part 2? Spring 20. Okay, so I'm going to say man. I don't know. 2023 for 16.
Really.
That's pretty distant.
I'm going to say that one's coming out this year.
This year. But if it was going to be
This year.
Wouldn't you think that they would have more information on it when they showed it off last time?
Well, I mean, they did have quite a bit of information on it. Like, they didn't say a whole lot, but obviously the narrative is complete. The voice acting is complete. The
Right.
combat looked relatively complete. The thing that didn't look that done was the polish on the graphics. Like, the lighting didn't look right. Things like that looked like they were not there yet, which is something you'd expect in something that's in an alpha or early beta form. For me, I think that game could very reasonably come out this year.
Yeah.
Fair.
If it doesn't, it's because Square Enix has they want to make sure that there's the holes in their release calendar are as small as possible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they're probably, depending on how ready the game is, they might even be picking their target. Be like, well, we got to drop it here because we got nothing else going on, and you know what I mean. They got some sort of crazy mathematics at play for that.
And just an aside, here's the beauty of that Final Fantasy VII spoilerette, is that despite knowing the spoiler itself, there's so much context and surrounding information in that whole scenario, as it's definitely not ruined for you.
Absolutely. That's what I figured. Based on the events from the first game, I figured that there was a lot of context missing there, and if something appears to be one way or that way in specific that we're talking about, I figured that maybe not necessarily that is how things will end up, or maybe there's a way back that I haven't seen yet. I remember James, you were mentioning something about the black, what was it? You were mentioning some part of the story about the black
Black
what was
materia?
it? I don't know. Yeah, I think it was that. So maybe there's I have no clue. I'm excited to play the second part though.
Gotcha.
Me too. I'm really surprised that game didn't pop up on more Game of the Year lists. I can't think of anywhere I saw that actually gave it Game of the Year, but it had such a massive impact on people when it came out, got such good reviews. It's interesting that it just kind of fell out of people's minds that quickly.
Yeah, it was I think by the time we got Ghost of Tsushima, Final Fantasy VII was gone from people's minds.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is the
Definitely
tough
was.
thing about releasing in the first couple months of the year.
So I got another prediction.
Okay.
And this one's about Gotham Knights,
All right.
which is that DC-based, Destiny-like, The Division-ish game where you play as a variety of non-Batman Arkham-esque characters.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that Gotham Knights is going to be the best one of those that gets released this year, but it's still not very good.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
think it doesn't hold a candle to the original three?
Yeah, I don't think it will stand up to games that are more established, like Destiny.
I think it's weird that the last superhero game that came out that was trying to bite off Destiny's piece of the pie was such a fuck up at it. Like Avengers was so boring. Jesus Christ, like the loot should be the best part of the game, or like in the top two slots. And it was just like, here's an identical piece of crap that you will slap upon your body and will change literally nothing and doesn't look any different. Really? So what do you care? Fuck you, get in there, be the Hulk. And it's just. So I guess what I'm saying is that the bar for superhero Destiny clones is pretty low.
Yeah,
No,
I mean, I hope it's better than the Avengers, but
Christ.
the Avengers is like a really elaborate paint by numbers where, every section was clearly numbered with what color of paint they needed to paint in there to make a competent game. But all they had on hand was black Sharpies, and so they kind of Sharpied around and made a thing that maybe almost looks like a picture.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, if you have it at the
it's
right
not
angle.
a good game.
But if you are developing a game right now, don't learn from Square Enix, or maybe learn from Square Enix. They spent way too much time and effort and money on the story of that game. And like, for a game that the first time that they revealed it, it was all about, getting in with your friends and feeling like the Avengers. Man, for a game that was supposed to be about that, just what you were saying, James, it was just so boring. Like, just, I'm, you trudge through this story that, honestly, for all the effort they put into it, I didn't think it was that great. And then there's nothing to do outside of it. So, yeah, if this Gotham Knights game doesn't revolve around character building and customization and that sort of stuff, if it's going to be some other fucking bullshit Batman story that doesn't actually include Batman, I don't know. Could go the same route as Avengers. I don't think it's going to be as bad as Avengers, though. I really don't.
God, I hope not.
Fingers crossed.
I think that it's impossible to get decent customization in a superhero game because the assholes that control the money are like, well, they have to look a certain way and they have to be cool. So we can't have players like putting pink tutus and fucking bright green sunglasses on these guys because, like, you know what I mean? Like, because then it's just like, fucks with the brand. So when you customize your outfits, it just looks like the same shit, and the power set has to fall within a certain space so like the fans recognize it as that character, and it's just like, you know what I mean? Like it's impossible for a superhero game to really blow it open like that because they have this like very tightly controlled track that the content needs to flow down in order to still be the content.
For sure.
I got a solution for you.
Yeah.
Say you've got this enormous back catalog of comics and stories and storylines and variations on a character. What if there was an area you could go to in the game and talk to a shopkeeper and push a button and at random get something? And what if you could earn in-game currency? I'm saying Gotham Knights is going to be a gacha game.
Yeah, sure. And then maybe one time you like roll the dice and you get like a Batman suit that's like,
Yeah, I was gonna
chrome.
say, you get the cowl.
Yeah, you get the
Sick.
chrome body armor, and you're like, I'm the same superhero, but I'm fucking shiny. And then
Yeah,
all the other players are jealous of you and your chrome ass superhero, and you play the game forever to chase that high. You know.
If they do enough of those suits and they do that kind of thing, that can work. Because it works perfectly well in the Spider-Man games.
Yeah, the Spider-Man outfits are awesome. They're
They don't even
good.
have an incentive to drip out more suits than they do. It's
Yeah.
great.
So I've got a couple of more predictions.
God, your computer screen is shockingly bright, James.
Yeah.
When you go into a document, holy shit.
All right. So my
Christ.
prediction is that we'll get a pretty far ways into the release of Halo Infinite, like probably to the closed or even the open beta stage, and it's gonna make people really nostalgic for some older Halo release. I don't play them, so I don't know which is the best Halo, but like people are gonna be like, oh man, remember what this Halo did that was so awesome and so rad and everything else. Meanwhile, there's Infinite, and then there'll be articles and stuff coming out, but like, here's what Infinite's doing wrong, and here's what it can do to fix it, and here's the 5 things that Halo Infinite needs to do to become a truly memorable Halo game. That's the kind of Halo game we're gonna get in fucking open beta in 2021.
So do you think the final game will release in 2021? Now
No.
that they have gone on record and said holiday 2021.
No, I don't think so. I think we'll get some version of it for sure this year, but it might be like a limited release, or like, well, we're gonna drop some multiplayer maps and get people in a sort of like an open beta, which is just like anybody who has an email address, and then they'll all like do multiplayer, but like, the campaign's coming, guys. And that'll happen either at the very end of 2021 or probably most likely the first quarter of 2022, because I just have a funny feeling that they're not even as not done as we think they are.
I mean, the parade of creative directors out the door, it is very telling. Despite what the remaining folks at 343 say about it doesn't mean anything, it does mean something when that many high-level people are just gone.
A high turnover rate is bad no matter the circumstances.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
that actually makes me think of another prediction, but it can go later.
So what are the Vegas odds on Halo Infinite's campaign coming out before Final Fantasy VII Part 2?
I'm gonna say like, I don't know, like 1 in 3 chance that Halo's campaign comes out before the second Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
You're not overly confident then.
No, 1 in 3 for sure.
Odds makers were bullish about the release of Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
Do you want to just carry on and give your next prediction?
Okay, well, one I thought of as we were having this discussion was Metroid Prime 4. Now, I didn't think of this one because it's having the same problem that Halo Infinite is having, in that you see job listings for the team, for the project, that are really important jobs that they're filling like this month or like in the last 6 months, like lead designer and like creative director, like big roles. I don't remember exactly what they are, but there's 2 or 3 really important roles that were only filled in the last 6 months. And they took over Retro Studios took over development of this game in 2018. January 2018, they started working on this game, and they were advertising for very important positions in fall of 2020 at the absolute latest or earliest. My prediction based on this information is that we'll definitely get, much like Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, we'll get a trailer for Metroid Prime 4, although it might just be the logo again, but with like a slow panning, like rotating shot of like Samus's new armor, and then that'll be literally it.
Prime has the same problem as Halo, I think.
Yeah.
which is that both those games are very much of a time. And if you try to go back and play Metroid Prime or you go back and play Halo, you can't expect a modern game. You have to expect a game from that era. Like the platforming in Prime just doesn't hold up that well.
The
Still-
aiming system is
well
so
done.
convoluted as to be physically
Exactly.
unpleasant.
And
It's just like 2 different sticks, 4 different buttons. Fuck. Anyways, continue.
but like how do you bring that into 2021? And Halo, they showed what they thought was bringing it into the future. People hated it.
Yeah.
Now they're scrambling. And
'Cause they're
probably
like-
also Nintendo's scrambling like, shit. What do we do with this fucking game?
I think it'll be good, but it won't be mind-blowing. Like, I don't think they're going to pull a Star Fox Zero and make something for the console that makes players hate the franchise. But I think they'll make something pretty good, like 7.5 out of 10 on the upside, on the uptick. Like,
Sounds reasonable.
I personally think that any sort of first person, like platforming or melee combat or like close-up combat like that is just so clunky and so unpleasant. But like, people disagree with me, but I don't think they're going to make any innovations in that field, and that's like a pretty core element to Metroid Prime.
Yeah. For my last prediction here, I've got a Metroid adjacent prediction.
All right.
And that is around Axiom Verge 2, which is supposedly coming out this year. And the original Axiom Verge, for those who don't know, is an awesome Metroidvania game. Very retro inspired, going so far as to have upgrades for your character that, quote unquote, glitch the world to advance. It's a very cool game with awesome music. And I am going to say that Axiom Verge 2 is the Super Metroid 2 that, one, no one asked for, but two, everyone actually desperately wants.
Yeah. Yeah, we love that kind of shit, and we want more of it. I never finished Axiom Verge, and I really should go back and wrap it up. It's a really great game. Has spooky atmosphere, which you would think would be impossible given like the graphical style and the play style, but woof, it's fantastic.
Yeah. As like a tight controlling Metroidvania kind of game, it's right up there with the best in the business, like the Oris and the Hollow Knights and things like that.
Top of the charts.
Any other last predictions here, fellas?
Metal Gear the musical. The team
Okay.
is getting together right now to develop a 3-act play that will cover the entire 1 through 4 storyline. 5 will not be included.
Okay.
You got David Hayter. You got Well, no, actually, I don't think they're bringing Quentin Flynn back, are they? Because he got into some controversy with some tweets. Some tweets that involved some things he shouldn't have been saying.
Okay.
So I don't know if he'll be
I didn't
coming
see
back.
that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Quentin Flynn. I would have to dig it up, but
I'm
yeah.
gonna
So,
look that
anyways,
up for sure.
Metal Gear the musical. Hopefully I'm wrong. That's what I think it is right now. Because Paul, I don't think you're convinced that they're getting together to re-record MGS1, are you? It's that whole crew. Vulcan's there.
I mean, they could be.
Yeah.
They could be, but I also think it's entirely possible that they're getting together to record like a visual novel. and that the Metal Gear Solid remake is its own thing, using the original dialogue or new voice actors.
Original dialogue, yeah, that'd be cool.
My last prediction, that isn't just gross, is that we're gonna get the prime, pure, 100% version of Cyberpunk 2077 sometime this year, probably November, and nobody's gonna give a fuck when it comes out. Like, by the time it happens, all the goodwill surrounding the franchise will have fully evaporated. And I'll be like, all right, here's the great new version. And then, like, they'll have, like, a sales bump of, like, 30% of their original, like, units moved during the pre-order in the first week phase. But, like, it won't, they'll make a blip in the news. They'll be like, hey, guys, in case you're curious, the best version of Cyberpunk is out. And be like, all right, cool. But, like, they're going to release the perfect version. Nobody's going to give a fuck.
I think that's accurate because I don't think it's that good a game, even despite the bugs.
Yeah. Here you go. But they're working towards it. They'll have it out, and then it'll be very okay.
Yep.
Also, that Quentin Flynn stuff does not look good.
Doesn't look
Does
good,
not
eh?
look good for him.
Oh, Quentin.
It's real bad.
Was it what? Racism, homophobia, conspiracy theories,
Yeah.
anti-Semitism.
All of the above.
Yeah. No, it's some real sexual predator
Oh no!
type stuff.
Okay,
It's,
okay,
Fuck.
It's way darker than I thought it would be, which is why I'm laughing. I know that makes no sense, but
okay. No, that's
It's
Yeah,
super
no,
dark.
I'm with you on that. It's,
sometimes you just have to laugh or say do something, you know.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, fuck.
But yeah, there's our
What-
predictions for 2021. I'm sure we have other ones that we'll cook up and spout out on this podcast as time goes on. But for now, you know what? I think we pretty much covered just about everything that's going to happen this year.
Yeah.